Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Brenda Kilhoffer, and I am your cheap mama on the Transform You Network. Today, I am here with a really good friend of mine, Alexis Braunfeld. We met networking, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago, almost a year ago, maybe by now. And Alexis is a health and wellness coach, and she has multiple businesses and she's raising kids. So today we're really going to kind of tie all of those things in together, talk a little bit about, finding the balance in that, especially when you're running multiple businesses. I know Alexis is a cake decorator. She is running her direct sales business, and she's also raising kids in the home. And I think yours are all homeschooled too, right, Alexis? Or
only last year due to COVID, but
okay.
they're going back to school in September. They're getting out of here.
Yay. Go back to school. So anyway, take a minute, introduce yourself, Alexis, and then we'll just dive right on into our topic and, how to stay healthy, find balance, and all of those things.
Yeah. So, hey, everyone, I'm Alexis Braunfeld. I live outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I have been an entrepreneur all my life since I was a kid, selling cupcakes in middle school, and probably before that, seashells painted seashells from the driveway. But I've always loved to start new businesses. And then, since getting married and having a family, just loved trying to incorporate, like, I didn't want to give up being a business person for a family. I wanted to do it all. So here I am trying to do it all.
Awesome. All right. So let's start right in. I know you have quite a story around just finding the health, getting involved in the health. So do you want to start with that, or where do you want to start? How many kids do you have? You've got
I have 2 kids. My son is 16 years old, heading into 11th grade, and my daughter is 12, heading into 7th grade. So I can't believe how old they are and how fast it goes, but that's them.
So you've got the middle school and the high school.
Yep. And so yeah, my journey actually, before my cake decorating life came into play, my background is in jewelry and gemology. So I was doing that, and then I became a mom, and that kind of shifted more to the side. And just through raising my kids, I started cake decorating. And every year I challenged myself. I had gone to art school for the jewelry, so that's kind of always in my background. I love creating and making things. So I started to make cool cakes for them. And every year it became a challenge. I wanted to up my game and do something fun. And then slowly my friends started asking me, will you do this? Will you do that? And, little by little, a business was born, and I was cake decorating. And then quickly I taught a class. I met someone who is now a very good friend of mine, and we started a business called Sugar Treasures. And that was our cake decorating business. And it just, like, full steam ahead became this business where we were moms all day, because she's also a mom raising kids. We were moms all day, and then we were staying up all night making cakes, and we were exhausted. So what started out as like a super fun passion, like, way to get out our creativity and fun and bring joy to other people, soon became just this exhausting chore that we were, like, on the verge of giving up and getting rid of. So that's when, like, wellness, I started looking into other options, and wellness came into my life.
Awesome. Yes, because you can only burn that candle at both ends for so long before it starts to take its toll.
Yeah. So
then it takes away from, the job that you're really wanting to do as being mom. And when your income producing activities start to take away from who you are as a mom, because you're tired and cranky and short tempered and all of those things.
Right.
Yeah,
like, I totally learned that balance is just so important. Like, we want to be our best. We want to be our best moms. We want to be our best business people, and we can't be if we're not sleeping. Like, sleep is so important. So I was invited to hear a healthy living talk, and I just started to learn about this, learn about how much nutrition impacts our health, learn about how much sleep impacts our health, like what I now call the core four, which is nutrition, hydration, sleep, and exercise. Like they're just so simple, and we take a lot of it for granted all the time. But just doing those simple things all the time really helps us balance out and makes us be our best self. And sometimes that means cutting back on some of the time we do spend doing things, but like planning better and making things more, being more specific about what we're doing.
Well, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. Some people just utilize those 24 hours more effectively than others do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I always find it a challenge to use them appropriately, because sometimes what's comfortable in the now ends up being what hurts you in the later, especially when it comes to our health. While it may be comfortable now to get less sleep, or it may be comfortable now to sit down and watch a TV show instead of go out and exercise.
How much is that going to impact us throughout the rest of our week when we're freaking out because we're behind on deadlines, or and something comes up that we're not expected with the kids that we have to attend to, and then then you end up staying up all night because you haven't finished what you needed to do for your work. So it definitely becomes all about scheduling and being intentional with our time, and and making sure. So just back into my story, like I found out that nutrition really matters, that eating right, even if it's just a little bit all the time, getting my sleep really made a difference. So I just made some adjustments. I made sure I started going to bed on time. I wasn't going to bed at 4, waking up at 7 and like being cranky. It made a difference, and I was able to fit in more. And because I'm balancing businesses, I can't do it all at once. So I just schedule when I do the different things.
Right. So how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're scheduling, that one business isn't taking away from the other, that you're scheduling, in those blocks of times? What techniques do you use to make that?
Like I try to look at my calendar, look ahead, schedule out when the kids' important activities are, because number one, like for me, that's the most important, to be there when I'm really needed. And then I try to balance that with my husband, so he can do the things I don't want to do. And so we just balance out what's important for us to be, which things are important for us to be at. And then as far as my cake business, I then look at the weekends that are left, because most people schedule cakes and cake orders for weekends. So I kind of will look and see what weeks are scheduled, what weekends are more free. And then I'll say, okay, I'm only going to take so many orders for this week. And I'll write down when I will take orders, so that and I try and do this way ahead of time. So when they come in, I know what I can take or what I don't. Like in the past, you get excited, you're running a business, people want to order, and I just say yes. And then I'm overwhelmed and heading down a bad path. So that's what I've been trying to do. And then my other businesses are a little less time intensive, more following up and messages and chatting with people. So those I can kind of fit in the nooks and crannies, which is nice, whatever's left over.
Yeah. And now, do you have a system for that?
I'm working on one. It's all a work in progress. I'm actually like working on kind of systems to to try and get my cake business. And as part of my cake business, I do teach classes for kids with cake decorating, and also cooking classes, like healthy eating, cooking classes for kids. So I'm trying to get some people on board to take over some of the activities for me, so that I can, schedule them to do that stuff, or I can work on other stuff.
Right.
Which that's the next step.
And so do you do those classes in your home? Do you do them?
Currently, I've been doing them up until COVID. I did them in school as like after school programs. and also as like birthday parties. I don't have a location at my house to do this, so I've always done it at people's locations or at schools and stuff like that. But I am actually thinking about having a space, like creating a space maybe in my basement for people to come take classes there.
Cool. Well, I was just wondering, for me, that might, the whole thought of, oh my gosh, like you've got all of this on your plate, and then to bring people, classes into your home too. I couldn't even imagine. I know how bringing anybody in my home is, just one of those tasks of time to clean up.
Right. If and when I do it, it's going to be like under lock and seal. No one can touch the space unless someone's coming in for a class, because I do have that panic, and I do prefer teaching out because of that. There's enough going on in my house that I do like to go out for the class, come to someone else's location, just bring my stuff.
So tell me, what shifts, what caught, obviously you said you're burning the candle at both ends, and decided, and that was where the healthy lifestyle came into play. You're going to bed on time. What's on time look like? Like, I mean, realistically, as moms, what should we be focused on when it comes to sleep and exercise?
I mean, honestly, it depends on you. Everyone's different with sleep. I would say, like, aim for around 8 hours, which sounds like a lot. But it is. So like, I know that I need my sleep, and the type of person I am, like, if that's off, I just fall apart as soon as my sleep lacks. So I try to aim, I usually probably end up with around 7 hours. I try to go to bed around midnight, but get in bed before, wind down. So I aim for midnight, and I know for some people that might be late. And for some people that might be early. I don't know. I try and aim right for the middle, and that seems to work for me. So I usually end up probably waking up around 7, which would give me 7 hours. Sometimes I go to bed a little earlier, but around that. I mean, but compared to the life I was leading for a while, which was like going to bed at like 2 to 4 in the morning after working on cakes, it's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And just making that a priority. I think for me, I never put it in my head like, okay, you have to go to sleep. Like, it's like you're a little kid, you have to tell yourself, parent yourself, go to bed.
And then exercise. What I know sometimes I get into this where I have to make it such this big massive, it's got to be go to the gym and do a routine, what do you suggest when it comes to, especially for somebody trying to balance their lives out and maybe not feeling like they don't have a lot of time?
Yeah. So I would say of the 4, exercise is my weakest link. I'm kind of a workaholic. Like, I love to do everything, and the thing on the lowest is the exercise. I just don't love it. So it's obviously my last priority, unfortunately. But for me, what works is to do the easiest thing, which is go for a walk. Like, I can just walk right out of my house. I don't have to drive somewhere. I don't do anything. Just put on my sneakers and walk out the door. That seems to be what works for me. And then, like, if it's raining or too cold or too hot, I get on my treadmill. And if there's a really good TV show you like to binge, that's like the incentive for going on the walk. Or even like when I walk around my neighborhood, I'll call a good friend that I know I can talk to for like at least an hour, and like I'll just walk and talk, and something to distract you a little bit if it's not your favorite thing to do.
Cool. Awesome. And then how do you balance? I mean, to me, it's like two polar opposite ends of the spectrum, making cakes and having a healthy, nutritious lifestyle. I know my daughter loves to bake, and it's almost maddening. It's like, okay, I'm doing really good. And then she comes home and it's brownie day, or it's just cookie day. How do you balance that and make sure you're putting the right things in and keeping some of the wrong things out?
I actually do pretty good when I'm surrounded by all of the cake and icing. It's actually, like, for me, not as tempting as like when someone hands you something and you haven't done all the work. It's like, I don't know, that's harder for me than when I'm just like, when there's cakes and icing and everything, I that just is me. I'm not going for it then. And it's work. So I'm not digging my fingers into the icing and licking them when I'm trying to bake for somebody else, obviously. Yeah, and like the most important thing for me is when when I get working on those cakes, like I'm standing on my feet, is just making sure I'm eating and drinking, like making sure I'm drinking the water, making sure I'm eating something healthy that will keep me going, because I tend to want to just work until it's done and like forget sometimes, like take a break, take care of yourself, because that's going to be better in the long run.
I know you've brought up water several times, and my husband is always, and it doesn't matter what you say. If something's ailing you in our household, the first words out of my husband's mouth are drink more water. Drink some water.
It's so true. There's like so many things that water can affect, and you have no idea. Like sometimes when you're hungry, it's because you're dehydrated. Sometimes when you're tired, it's because you're dehydrated. Like water is just super important. I know there's someone I learned from, a doctor I listened to, when you feel a headache coming on, the first thing before popping the Tylenol or the Advil is to drink a huge glass of water, take some deep breaths. Like there are so many things that can cause headaches or hunger or tiredness, like that you should always, water does, if water doesn't solve it, then you can move on to the other things.
That's funny. And how much water should the average person drink every day?
So it's a good guideline to go by, half your body weight in ounces of water. So like for instance, if someone weighs 100 pounds, you should aim to drink 50 ounces a day. And just so on. So that's a good marker. Obviously, if you're in a really hot climate, or you're out exercising, you can drink more. You don't want to overdrink, because you can get water poisoning, which you're diluting out all the salt in your body, and that is really dangerous. So you don't want to drink too much water. But I would say most people are probably a little bit dehydrated. I was just visiting my parents, and they drink like 1 8-ounce little bottle of water. They're like take a sip and put it down, and they're like, I'm good. Come on, drink. And they think I'm crazy because I'm always like, drink up.
Tell me more about water poisoning. I don't think I've ever heard about that.
Yeah, so I don't know that I'm super knowledgeable about it, but it has something to do with the salts in our body. We need certain amount of salts to make our body work, and like our heart needs salt to have it pump and everything like that. So if you drink too much water, you dilute out all the salt in your body, and it's really not good. So your body can't function as well, and you can wind up in the hospital, and yeah. So wow. I'll have to dig in and get you more info on that.
Yeah, that is the first time I've ever heard that. Like I said, all I ever hear from my husband is drink.
The majority of people are dehydrated. Most people are not going to drink too much water, but like sometimes we do water challenges with our healthy living group. And, someone has come to me and said, like, I drank a gallon of water today. And I'm like, hold up, like, slow down. Don't drink too much water. So,
yeah. Awesome. Well, but for some, that is the right amount, right? A gallon would be
like what, 128 ounces. So that's a lot. And the person who came to me definitely was not
240 pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely just want to, I would always make clear that you don't want to drink too much water.
Awesome.
And speaking of that, like, there's, a lot of people drink Gatorade and stuff like that for sports. And like, I personally don't love all those drinks because I feel like they're more sugar water than anything else. But the important part of it is that like it has the potassium, it has the salts that you need, but you can make really good like homemade Gatorade type drinks. And it's just like water with lemon or lime or both, a little bit of orange juice. It's just basically really watered down orange juice or lemon or lime juice, lemonade. And you put just like a half a teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon of salt. And perfectly just as good as drinking some Gatorade.
Right, for sure.
Most likely much better, much healthier.
Yes, I'm not a fan of those either. Great. And so we've hit the sleep, we've hit the water, we've hit the exercise. Let's talk about the nutrition. How do we start to, because I find that's, I mean, I think for most moms, and I see it not just for, you know, I mean, I see posts in some of the moms groups on Facebook and things like that all the time. Like, help, my kid will only eat, you know, chicken nuggets and French fries, or they will only eat, you know, the, you know, goldfish crackers or hot dog, you know, how do you, not just us, but how do we make it one we're so time starved that it feels like preparing healthy meals is a challenge, is difficult, takes more time than most of us have. And how do we get the kids to eat it?
So I'm not going to say it's easy. I think the best, if I were to start over and we all had a clean slate, I think I would start early, you know, but I didn't know all I know now, like when my kids were super young. But for all you moms out there that are just starting out, like, don't introduce your kids to like the bad stuff. But
I remember now I'm going to be, I'll be honest, it had nothing to do with health at the time. It had to do with the fact that I didn't want to clean it up and the mess, but I will never forget. And it wasn't like super, I mean, I think my son was he was a little over 2 years old, you know, and I had gone to a restaurant with my husband and my now husband, we were dating at the time, and he had French fries, and I never let him have ketchup because of the mess. It wasn't because of the health, but I remember being so mad because his friend introduced him to ketchup, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta have this." I'm like, "What are you doing? He's gonna be a mess after that." But you're right. You don't. It is what we give them, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I remember going to we had a farm with my son Jacob as a kindergartner. And he was the only child that knew what any of the vegetables were. Like most of the kids didn't even know what they were. And the farm is given, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, you can pick some and take them. And the moms are like, no, don't, because it's just going to get thrown away. My kid won't eat that. And my kid won't eat that. But it was, and I'm just like, are you serious? You know, so like you said, it's not easy. But it's less easy if you start off on the wrong foot, right? Like if you don't start off on the wrong foot, it can actually be fairly simple. I mean, my kids eat pretty much everything. And
I think it's just introducing them to a wide variety of good foods. And like, I'm not saying they don't, like my kids definitely eat their fair share of treats and foods that aren't probably super healthy, but from when they were little, you know, and this was even before I got into, you know, more of health and wellness as a business. I grew up on a farm. My mom always, you know, grew veggies, and that's what I was introduced. And so that's what I knew. So I introduced that to my kids, and they always had that at every single meal. And it's about not giving up, which is kind of like, you know, the lesson for all of life. But I think as parents, we become exhausted of our kids saying no, and we give in to the easiest thing, like hand them goldfish when they won't eat dinner. And, you know, I think it's just about being like, here's your dinner, eat it or don't, you know, like, and not falling back on that crutch, because their kids are smart and they play us really well. So, you know,
and they won't starve to death. Even though, you know, some may make you think that they're going to. But I mean, and that's our role. I don't, you know, if because there's always going to be something that they like on the plate that if they're hungry, they're going to ask for more of.
Right.
And so that's my role, is no seconds until you've gotten through this, and certainly, we grow our own, and, Jeremiah's like, no, please don't grow the zucchinis. But yet he'll go out to the garden and eat the beans right off the plant. He'll come out and he'll eat the cucumbers before I can even get them, into a salad.
Yeah, my daughter will just take the cucumber and start munching away.
Right.
When she was around 5, she quote hated tomatoes, but yet she'd eat tomato sauce and anything made of tomatoes. But if it was a whole fresh tomato, she hated it. And that summer I grew tomatoes, and she was out there eating them right off the vine, and because I grew it, she ate it. And now she's 12, and now she will sit down with a whole container of tomatoes and just eat them like they were raspberry or something.
Yeah.
But at the time she thought she hated them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids that I work with in my cooking classes and stuff, I really try to make them understand that even the same fruit and vegetable, the same tomato, could taste different on any given day. You know how as adults we know there's summer tomatoes and there's winter tomatoes, and the winter tomatoes kind of suck. So I always kind of tell the kids that I'm teaching, give everything a chance, because it could taste different to you on any given day, and depending how they're grown and how they're cooked. You could like it one day and not like it another day, and then like it again the next day. So,
well, and absolutely. And how they are cooked is, Brussels sprouts can be cooked in a number of ways. And there's ways that you're not going to get me to eat it. But then there's other ways that, and then there's the less healthy, I have a sister-in-law that she'll make it with bacon every time.
Yeah.
And that they're good. They're really good that way. I don't know how much, give and take there you're giving on your health with that.
But then that's also a good way to get kids to try it, put some butter and bacon in there. They like it. They start to get in the head, oh, I like Brussels sprouts. And then you slowly wean that back a bit.
Right.
So, and I've always liked to do things, and when my family knows, there's certain things that they let me get away with and certain things they don't. But lately I've been chopping up mushrooms really, really fine. And when I make tacos, I'll do half beef and half chopped mushrooms. And honestly, really can't taste the difference unless they know it. If they know it, they get mad at me. But I feel I'm all about eating plant-based, but if you can, I don't feel you have to take away the meat. I'm not a vegetarian or vegan. I just feel if I can replace some of it with some more fruits and vegetables, they're getting more nutrition in their body, and it's better for them.
Awesome. Well, it's about time for a quick break. So let's hear from our sponsor, and we'll come right back afterwards and talk a little bit more about the nutrition side of it.
Hey, I know you've been watching these podcasts for quite some time, and you may be a loyalist. So if you are, I want to invite you right now to take part in a special training. A training that's going to take you from 0 to 1,000. Maybe you are dreaming about how you too can have your own network of podcasts. Maybe you don't want to be a host. Maybe you just want to manage. Well, that's what I do as CEO of Transform You Network. I manage great podcasts like Cheat Mama Life, the Transform You Live Show that has over 10,000 downloads per week. You can be in the driver's seat and be conducting the train. So let's get you the training you need. Simply send an email to media@transformu.us. That's media@transformu.us to be a part of this exclusive training right now.
Hi, and welcome back to the Cheat Mama Life. I'm Brenda Kilhofer, and I am your Cheat Mama here on the Transform You Network. Make sure you check out other shows on our network. We are here for the sole purpose of giving you great information to transform your lives. And speaking of which, today, Alexis is sharing with us, I think now we've kind of gone through the whole business and time management stuff, and we're really digging into, I guess, the meat and potatoes, so to say, of getting vegetables into not just for ourselves, but our kids, because I know there are so many mamas out there that are struggling with that issue more than anything. I mean, I think we were talking, I can't tell you how many times I see that a day on Facebook posts. How do you, and then we have this mom guilt, like I'm a terrible mom because I'm not feeding, because we're not getting into the fights. And I love one of the things Alexis shared before we got started was that by growing those vegetables, how much it encourages the kids. And I absolutely agree. Like I watch, my little guy is so much, because we have more space. We've got a big gardening area. He's more apt to try something from the garden than something that I bring home from the grocery store, even if it's the exact same vegetable, right? If he's pulled it out of the garden. So how do you begin to start, people are all over the world, different locations, different climates. Tell me about gardening and how do we raise our own food all times of year? Because I think that's getting to be an important thing for people.
In the climate that I grew up in, I'm in outside of Philadelphia, as I said, and we have cold winters. So the way I grew up gardening is it was pretty much a spring, summer, maybe early fall gardening experience. But I grew up that way. When I started my family, we moved into a house. That's how I started gardening. And then I came across this amazing gardening, a vertical garden. It's called the Tower Garden. And I fell in love with it because one of the things that I hated about gardening was forgetting to water. I would always forget to water, and I'd set up sprinklers and timers and something would always go wrong. So when I found this system, and weeding's another, bummer part of gardening. So I found the system, vertical gardening, you fill it, there's a pump in the bottom and it pumps the water up and it sprinkles down on all the roots, which are sitting inside a column. So all the plants just kind of come out of this column. It's really, really neat. So I switched over probably around 7, almost 8 years ago, switched from conventional gardening to this. And it's been amazing because not only do I grow in the typical season that we have here for growing, but I switch, or actually at this point, I have one of my towers growing indoors all year round. So I have 4 towers, currently 3 are outside enjoying the summer sun, 1's inside. I put grow lights on it and I grow smaller plants. But it's been such an experience. And like, I started it because I just love growing things and I love fresh food. But it has been such an experience to get my kids to see how I've grown the food. And as I was mentioning before, but having my kids and the kids that I teach, when they watch something grow from a seed to a seedling to a plant that you can actually pluck and eat, like they are just so much more likely to eat it because it's just hands-on. They have been a part of it. As we all know, kids gravitate towards hands-on things. If you just hand them something and they haven't been part of the process, they don't engage with it. So engaging them, getting their hands in the soil and digging, having like, there's something called rock wool that I use because the tower gardens don't grow with dirt. It's only water. So I use rock wool squares and I have the kids help me put the seeds in the squares and then we water it and we put it under grow lights. And then we transfer it to the tower garden once they've sprouted. And that whole process of just getting them engaged with that is amazing and fascinating. And we go back and watch the seedlings every day and see how they've grown. And then once they're in the tower garden, just watching them grow. And then I'll tell my kids, I'll hand them a bowl at dinner time. I'm like, go pick some lettuce for the salads. And they go into our dining room and pull some lettuce off the tower. And
isn't like, that the best? I love that's my favorite part is, and that's the part that I have such an opportunity to get a hold of is the proper amount of lettuce to grow at a time. Cause I either, cause it's like, I have all this lettuce and I can't use it because we just can't eat it fast enough or I don't have any.
Right.
And it is so much fun to say, hey, go grab some lettuce for our salad tonight. Go grab a cucumber and grab a couple, tomato, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is the greatest thing. And like, even so we haven't been going, to school, but I love in the mornings when my kids are going out the door to school, we'll make sandwiches, and my son's always grabbing lettuce off the Tower Garden for his sandwich, and
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and the fresh basil, like, all those
Well,
herbs.
and I think the nicer, and that's, it doesn't, I mean, your toddlers can help with that. They don't have, so you can start super early. It doesn't have to be, when it comes to gardening, you can really involve the youngest children in that process.
In fact, I was showing my tower garden at this event I went to a little while ago, and there was this little girl, and she did not like vegetables. She proclaimed to me that she hated fruits and vegetables, and it was so fun just to introduce her to see the plants. And I was showing her each plant, like, this is basil, this is lettuce, and I was like, do you want to taste it? Like we said, like, when it's in a different situation, it's not on your plate, kids want to taste it. And I'm like, I would hold the stem. I'm like, okay, pull off the leaf. And, and then she bit it and she was like, ew, yuck. I'm like, okay, well, basil's out. Let's try the next one. But like, she was willing to taste it, which I think some kids just are not willing to taste it when it's on their plate. And, so that it's just incredible to me. Not only is it a fun way to grow as an adult, and having a garden is a fun way to grow, there's no weeding and it's easier to water it. But just the connection with the kids has been just amazing for me. And I love that. And like you said, some kids don't even get exposed to all different fruits and vegetables, and to see that, it's just incredible. When I teach my class, I'm shocked what some of the kids have never tried before, because I mean, I know there's kids that don't like something, but at least they've seen it. But some kids just are like, have no idea, have never tried it. My kids have always been very hands-on, because I am, but like, some parents don't, and we're all busy. Like, I don't blame anybody, but like,
right.
Some parents are just so busy that you're always handing your kids something fully made, and you're not getting them involved in the process.
And gardening seems as it can be a big, overwhelming chore, unless you're talking about, like, I mean, the Tower Garden, certainly not having to deal with the weeds and the soil and all of those things is probably a bit easier. But I know when I sit down to do my outdoor ones, that's like, okay, what's compatible with what? How do you, what should I put here? What should I put, is there enough shade for this one? What time of year is it that this is, because I mean, in Arizona, certainly we could garden all year, and there's some things that are better, that there's some things that you're not going to grow in the summer. That like, you have to grow in the winter.
The opposite of us, because you probably have to stop growing in the heat of summer, the peak of summer, where we like, that's like our best time over here.
Right. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and it's so funny that as you were talking and you mentioned the kids being so much more willing to try things. We were just in Hawaii, and the meal kept coming with purple orchids, right? And my daughter just grabs it and starts chomping on it. And I'm like, well, do we even know if that's edible? And of course it was edible, but she's like, well, they wouldn't put it on your plate if it wasn't, would they? Because they're putting it in the drinks and in the plate. But I mean, how many kids would ever really even consider picking up a flower and just start eating it unless they've been exposed to, things that grow like that, I mean, there's, what was I watching? I was watching something the other day on dandelions, and, we've been brought up to believe that they are weeds to be exterminated. And yet there's all of these amazing health benefits to dandelions.
Yeah. People eat them, cook with them. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And like, just going back to kids and the exposures on food, and like parents who kind of say, oh, my kid doesn't eat that. I think we all need to be just a little more open-minded and not let our kids make the decision on that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like one time or two times isn't enough. I think we all need to give our kids a little bit more chance and encourage them to keep trying. I think that's like,
Well, and if we're honest, sometimes it's not that our kids don't eat it, it's that we don't eat it. Therefore,
Right.
our kids don't eat it. Like my
Yeah.
kids don't eat peas, and it's not because they don't like them. They actually do like them, but I don't like peas. So I have had the opportunity, and I've grown them in the garden because the kids actually have enjoyed, pulling them off and
Yeah.
having the nice, fresh pea pods. It's so, sometimes we have to look at the reality of, is it truly our kiddo that's not eating it, or is it our
Right.
own dietary habits that are contributing towards?
Yeah, I think we definitely lead our kid, we
Yeah.
are influencing our kids
Yeah.
a lot in what we do, and they are always watching us.
Yeah. So what kinds of vegetables can you grow in the garden? Is it pretty much anything, or is it?
You can grow pretty much anything that is not a tree, a bush, or a root vegetable. Although I have seen people grow some carrots and beets, although they're not very big ones, but just because the roots are going inside the tower and there's only so much space in there. So most of the plants have to come out. But I've grown, like this summer, I have zucchini, cucumbers, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, tomatoes, kale, a few different types of lettuce, basil, what else? Peppers, jalapeno peppers, bigger bell peppers.
And does in the tower gardens, are the compatibility concerns that you would have in soil as far as them taking the nutrients, are those the same, or
Yeah,
is it?
I mean, I use the nutrients that comes with a tower garden, and it has been formulated to be pretty level across all fruits and vegetables. Like a lot of hydroponic systems, I think that there's some nutrients for those that are like, okay, this is for tomatoes, this is for cucumbers, but this mineral blend is pretty well balanced for everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I was curious about that because I know, with the soil, you're
right.
The concern is
you do adjust the pH, or you test your pH to make sure that's level. That needs to be at a certain number, because if that's too high or too low, that will definitely affect your plants. But that's pretty easy to measure and keep control of. And I only measure it like, every couple of weeks or something like that.
Well, I would imagine adjusting pH in water is a little bit easier than adjusting pH in soil.
Yeah, definitely. A few drops fixes it all.
Yeah.
Like the pool, you put your little drops in your pool.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that would make sense. Well, very cool. And so I loved what you're talking about with the hamburger and mushrooms. Now my kids actually like mushrooms, but one of them likes them cooked, the other one likes them not cooked. So then we have that. But what other tips and tricks? What else? What are some other ways we can hide the veggies in everyday things that the kiddos like?
So I love doing the taking a cupcake tray and filling that with lots of different things, some dips like hummus, some different kinds of veggies, and just do a little bit in each thing, like maybe some like dried cranberries, some nuts, some hummus, some carrots, some celery, even a few chocolate chips, something sweet, and giving them kind of like a little smorgasbord of stuff rather than one thing, and it kind of like a grazing tray, and putting it out for the kids to grab, especially having them like when they come home from school. That's a great one. Just have like a little tray of a little bit of everything if we're ready for them. And once again, I'm not perfect at this. When I am planned out and this is my ideal, have their snack ready before they walk in the door, because our kids are always hungry when they come home from school. Our kids always want to eat, and that's the perfect time to fill them with the good stuff when they're super hungry. So that's one of my tips, like get the good stuff in when they're super hungry, and be prepared rather than them saying, what can I eat? Like, be ready and hand it to them. And some people I know even feed them like a dinner, have dinner ready when they walk in from school, and then have them have a snack like at dinner time. Then the other thing, like we were talking about dinner, always have something the kids like on their plate, even like something healthy, something that they like at dinner time, and that way dinner isn't a battle. So you always want to have something new to try, but you always want to have something that they will definitely eat, so there's not a battle, and it's not like someone whining to say, okay, I'm not eating any of this. So that's always a good one. I like to do, just as far as some recipes, I'm always trying to make some smoothies, like fun smoothies for the kids,
Right.
get lots of fruits and vegetables in there, throw a handful of spinach or kale, which hides the flavor pretty well. The like protein balls or bites, I have a recipe I love that uses pureed pumpkin, oats, honey, a vanilla powder, and then I mix it all up and make little balls. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting an ingredient in there. Probably one. But what else? Chia puddings are good. Overnight oats are great. When I make more dinners, like I make a chili where I try to do just less beef. So my family loves their meat. They will never give up their meat and chicken and all that stuff,
Right.
or animal protein, I should say. But I do try to just make it less. I was like, we don't need to be eating this much of it. So I'll just, if I make chili, I'll put lots of beans and veggies and chop all that up, and a little bit of meat or
Right.
macro protein. So I just lessen that up wherever it goes. And if it's something that they're used to eating, like chili or, any of the other meals like tacos, they'll gobble it up, and they won't be any the wiser that there's just a little bit more vegetable than they're used to in that. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. I love the smoothies too. Like my kids will eat smoothies all day long. So we do the smoothies, and it's so funny because we had, it just boils down to what are you feeding the kids? Because we had another little kindergartner with us last year doing his homeschool at our house. And my son's like, do you want a smoothie? Oh yeah, I want a smoothie. And then he's like, well, this is awful because he was used to whatever, he's used to sweet and sugary and all of the artificial flavors. And we're making it with, coconut milk and fruit, fruit, berries, and, we're putting more of a nutritious protein powder, not a, not no ice cream, no milk, none of the other. So, yeah.
And it's amazing how much we can change our taste buds. Like I challenge anyone out there, if you cut your sugar just 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, go back and eat the things you were eating 10 days ago, and you will be like, wow, that's really sweet. Like you can change your taste buds so quickly. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And we can do that for our kids, like, just making certain little changes. And I love helping families do that, like just making little tiny switches in their pantry, looking at all the ingredients, and just, like I said, making small changes, and over time, they really make a big difference. And our kids tend to crave healthier things.
Right. And us too, because we certainly could stand to eat healthier as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how does somebody get in touch with you? So let's say somebody is interested in gardening, wants to do the tower garden, or who knows, where do they find, maybe they need a cake. I know you're not making cakes for me here in Arizona, but
I have started, I'm starting up this fall with a line on Etsy, some stuff that I can ship out.
Yes,
so I'm really excited about
us
that.
Talking about that. I'm excited for that expansion and that leverage that you're doing there. That's incredible.
Yeah. So I have put everything under a link tree, which I can give you a link. Would that be good to put across the screen, or do you want me to just
go ahead and read it out loud, and Mark, the producer, will take care of making sure it's in the show notes and all of that stuff. So what's
hold on, give me 1 sec. I'm always like sending it. So
no, just show you.
So give me 1 second. I will find that for you. But so I'm doing that. Would love to talk to people about wellness if you need any tips and tricks on your kids or gardening or any of that stuff. And my link is Linktree, linktr.ee /Alexis Braunfeld. So that's where you can reach me and find out about all the different things I do. Instead of a website or a phone number or email, that is just the easiest place because it just brings everything together.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us today, Alexis. I can't wait. I'm going to start trying that mushroom and ground beef thing.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know how it goes at your house.
Yeah, that's exciting. Just to get more vegetables in, and that's super exciting. So thank you for spending time with us today. And I hope that it was valuable for our listeners. And reach out to Alexis and follow us, share, follow us on Transform You Network. It's the Cheat Mama Life. And you have a great day, Alexis. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Cheat Mama Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review right now if you haven't already, and hit that share button. Until next time.